Okay, sir. Thank you. Very good afternoon to all of you. So yesterday's class, we started to learn about human reproduction. In that, we were learning about the male reproductive parts and its function. So just in continuation with yesterday's topic, or if you want to just have a recollection, we all know that human beings, they sexually reproduce and they are all viviparous, giving birth to young ones. When we talk about reproduction, the following process will occur. Formation of gametes called as gametogenesis, then transfer of sperms into the female genital tract called insemination, followed by fusion of gametes called fertilization, followed by attachment of blastocysts to the wall of the uterus called as implantation, followed by embryonic development called as gestation, and lastly, conclusion, delivery of the baby, which is called as parturition. So whenever we talk about reproduction in humans, the following events: gametogenesis, followed by insemination, followed by fertilization, followed by implantation, gestation, and parturition will complete. Now, before going into all this detail, first thing is we have to study about the anatomical parts of the reproductive system and their functions. So yesterday's class, we started with human, that is male reproductive system. So in case of male reproductive system, what are the parts it includes? The parts in case of male reproductive system, if you look at the diagram, which I have shared on your screen, you can say a pair of testes followed by accessory ducts, followed by external genitalia. So what are the four parts? Pair of testes, accessory ducts, accessory glands, and external genitalia. Yesterday's class, I began with the description of what? That is the pair of testes. Okay. So this is going to be the first part. Just 1 second. ಎರಡೂವರೆಗೆ ಇದು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. Okay, the first part is pair of testes. So what did we learn yesterday? You'll find a pair of testes is going to be located outside the abdominal cavity in a pouch called scrotum. Now, generally, in the scrotum, the temperature is always going to be less by 2 degrees compared to body temperature. Now, why is this temperature in the scrotum is less by 2 degrees centigrade? This is going to help in the production of gametes. So that is namely the sperms, or you can simply say it facilitates for the process of spermatogenesis. So as I mentioned, this can be asked for a 1-mark question. Well, what do we observe when you take a section of the testis? Of course, if you look at the shape of the testis, each testis is going to be oval in shape. Length of it, it's going to be 4 to 5 centimeters in length. Width of the testis is going to be 2 to 3 centimeters in width. Well, if you're going to take a section of the testis, what do we observe? We observe that inside the testis, there are going to be about 250 compartments. How many? There are going to be around 250 compartments. Now, what is the name of these compartments? These are named as testicular lobules. So, inside the testis, in a section, what do we observe? 250 compartments. What is it called as? Testicular lobules. Now, inside the testicular lobules, we observe that highly coiled 2 to 3 highly coiled structures called seminiferous tubules are going to be present. So, inside the testicular lobules, what do we observe? We observe that 2 to 3 highly coiled structures called seminiferous tubules are going to be present. Now, inside the seminiferous tubule, what do we observe? We observe that there are going to be 2 types of cells, or inside it is lined by, the seminiferous tubule is going to be lined by 2 types of cells. What is the first cell called as? It is named as the male germ cells, or it is also named as spermatogonia. So the seminiferous tubule is lined by 2 types of cells. The first type of cells referred as the male germ cells or spermatogonia. What is the second type of cells called as? The second type of cell is referred as Sertoli, or it is also named as nursing cells. So inside what? The seminiferous tubule is lined by, inside the seminiferous tubule, 2 types of cells, or the seminiferous tubule is lined by 2 types of cells. One is called as the male germ cells or spermatogonia. Second one is also called as Sertoli cells or the nursing cells. Now remember, these 2 types of cells can be asked for a 1-mark question. What is the question commonly asked here? Means it is going to be asked as, one is mention. Okay, name the types of cells in the testis. Of course, you can say totally 3 different types, but name the types of cells present in the seminiferous tubule. Means it's going to be male germ cells or spermatogonia. Second one is Sertoli cells or the nursing cells. The other common 1-mark question is mention the function of Sertoli cell. Mention the function of Sertoli cells or nursing cells. Second, mention the function of male germ cells or spermatogonia. Now let us look into what is the function. Now the spermatogonia is going to help in the process of, it's going to undergo the process of meiosis to produce sperm. Okay, so the male germ cell is going to take part in spermatogenesis. It's going to take part in the process of spermatogenesis. What is meant by spermatogenesis? Production of sperm is called as spermatogenesis. So the male germ cells or spermatogonia function. These cells will undergo meiosis. When they undergo meiosis, they're going to produce the male gamete, namely the sperm. So this is going to be the function. They're going to help in production. They're going to help in production of sperm. Next,
Sertoli cell, what is the function? It is going to help in nursing of the nursing of the male germ cells. So what is the function of Sertoli cells? Very simple. It is going to nurse. It's going to provide nutrition. Nursing means nothing but it's going to provide nutrition for which type of cells? The spermatogonia or the male germ cells. So nursing of the developing male germ cells. So this is going to be the feature what we observe inside the seminiferous tubule. What is it lined by? Two types of cells. Male germ cells or spermatogonia. What is the function of spermatogonia? It is going to take part in the production of sperm by undergoing what type of cell division? Meiosis. Second type of cells, Sertoli cells or nursing cells. What is the function of Sertoli cells or nursing cells? It is going to take part in providing nutrition, nursing of the developing male germ cells. So in a section, seminiferous tubules can be observed. This is what we observe inside the seminiferous tubule. Now, let us look into the outside. Now, outside the seminiferous tubule, all of you all, I'm just going to abbreviate seminiferous tubule as ST. Okay, so outside the seminiferous tubule, what do we observe? We observe there is going to be a space. Outside the seminiferous tubule, what are you going to observe? You're going to observe there is a space. What is the name of the space? It is called as interstitial space. What is it called as? Interstitial space. Why it's called interstitial space means the testis is covered by a membrane. Okay. So seminiferous, between the seminiferous tubule and the outer covering, there is a space. So that space is what you call it as the interstitial space. Now this interstitial space shows two things. What is it? One is it shows the presence of blood vessels. In the interstitial space, what do you observe? We observe the presence of blood vessels. Well, what is the second very important cell? What is it? It is named as Leydig cells, or it is also called as interstitial cells. So very important cells are present in the interstitial space. The interstitial space shows the presence of blood vessels and shows the presence of an important cell called Leydig cells or interstitial cells. Now, what is the function of interstitial cells or Leydig cells? It is going to help in production of androgens. What is the name of the androgen? It is nothing but the male hormone, which we call it as testosterone. So, outside the seminiferous tubule, there is a space. The space is referred as interstitial space. The interstitial space shows the presence of blood vessels and Leydig cells. Blood vessels and Leydig cells. What is the other name for Leydig cells? Interstitial cells. What is the function of these cells? They're going to secrete. They're going to secrete androgens. They're going to secrete important male hormone. Important male hormone. We call them as androgens. What is the male hormone named as? Testosterone. There is only one hormone produced in the male body. It is going to be testosterone. So testosterone is the male hormone. So you call it as the androgen. So this is going to be the cell present outside the seminiferous tubule. So remember, two important cells in the testis. One is the Sertoli cell. The second one is going to be the Leydig cells. What is the function of Sertoli cells? It is going to nourish the developing male germ cells. What is the function of Leydig cells? It is going to secrete the hormone, male hormone androgens called testosterone. So this is also an important 1 mark question. It is also an important 1 mark question. So that's about the first part of the testis named as the pair of testes. Okay, so that is going to be the description. Now followed by what is the second part of the male reproductive system? We are going to talk about accessory ducts. What is the second part? As I've already mentioned in the previous class, accessory ducts include retate testes, vasa efferentia, epididymis, and vas deferens. So these 4 parts together we call it as accessory ducts. So what happens here? The seminiferous tubule. I'm already mentioning. I mentioned seminiferous tubule. I write it as ST. Okay. The seminiferous tubule will continue into vasa efferentia. It continues into vasa efferentia through retate testis. It's going to continue into vasa efferentia. Which one? The seminiferous tubule continue into vasa efferentia through the retate testis. The retate, that is the vas efferentia, will continue into the epididymis. It continues into epididymis, thus will continue into vas deferens. It continues into the vas deferens. So, seminiferous tubule continues into vas efferentia. If you look into the diagram, you can understand. Seminiferous tubule continues into the vas efferentia through the retate testis. The vas efferentia continues into epididymis. Epididymis continues into the vas deferens. Now this vas deferens will continue and enter the abdomen. Please remember, all these are inside the scrotal sac. Now once the vas deferens continues, what it does? It continues, okay, and enters the abdominal region. Now when it enters the abdominal region, what it does? It is going to loop, or you can say it's going to surround the urinary bladder, or you can simply say it is going to loop around the urinary bladder. It is going to loop around the urinary bladder. The vas deferens continues, enters the abdomen. After entering into the abdomen, what it does? The duct continues. The duct continues and loops around the urinary bladder. Further, it continues behind and it opens into the urethra. It continues in the abdominal cavity when it is going to around the urinary bladder. It continues and then it opens into the urethra. Now remember, when it opens into the urethra, that is, it is opening as the ejaculatory duct. Now to this ejaculatory duct, we observe that the duct from the seminal vesicle also opens. The duct from the seminal vesicle will also open. Now we all know that urinary bladder is a sac-like structure which is going to store the urine. The urinary bladder continues into a duct that is called as the urethra. So the vas deferens loops around the urinary bladder and joins the urethra. Okay, it is going to join the urethra. Now, at this region, we observe that the duct from the seminal vesicle will also join, and that region, okay, which is going to connect the vas deferens region where it is going to connect the urethra forms what is known as the ejaculatory duct. The urethra, please remember, the urethra further continues. It continues into the penis. It continues into the penis and it opens to the outside as the urethral meatus. What is the opening referred as? Urethral meatus. So, accessory ducts. What does it include? It is going to include rete testis, vas efferentia, epididymis, and vas deferens. 2-mark question. So, the seminiferous tubule continues into the vas efferentia through rete testis. We observe that vas efferentia continues into the epididymis. Epididymis continues into the vas deferens. The vas deferens will enter the abdomen. It continues and enters the abdomen. Now, when it enters the abdomen, what it does? It is going to loop around the urinary bladder. It's going to loop around, or you can just say it surrounds the urinary bladder and then it opens into the urethra. It opens into the urethra. What do we observe? At that region, we observe the duct from the seminal vesicle also enters, and that is the region which we call it as the ejaculatory duct. Then the urethra continues. We know that from the urinary bladder, the duct forms what is known as the urethra. It continues through the penis, and at the tip of the penis, there is an opening. What is the name of the opening? Urethral meatus. Urethral meatus. So that's about accessory ducts. What is the third part? The third part that is followed by accessory glands. What is the next part we have to learn is accessory glands. How many accessory glands are present? One is called as the seminal vesicle. What is the next one? Prostate gland. Second one, prostate gland. Third one, bulbo, urethral gland. So all put together, they are referred as the accessory glands. What are the accessory glands? It's going to include seminal vesicle. You can look into the diagram. Seminal vesicle. What is the second gland? Prostate gland. What is the third one? Bulbourethral gland. Now the secretion from all these three glands, what is it named as? The secretion is referred as seminal plasma. The secretion from the accessory glands, what is it called as? It is named as the seminal plasma. What does the seminal plasma include? It includes fructose. It includes calcium. It includes certain enzymes. So what is the composition of seminal plasma means? It is made up of fructose, it's made up of calcium, and it contains certain enzymes. So the secretion from all these three glands put together, what is it referred as? Seminal plasma. Next, very simple. Seminal plasma plus including sperms together, what is it referred as? It is referred as semen. It is referred as the semen. Please remember, this can be, seminal plasma can be asked for a 1-mark question and semen can be asked for a 1-mark question. Now, what is the difference between seminal plasma and semen? Very simple. Accessory glands, the secretion of male accessory glands is called seminal plasma. Then what is semen? Semen includes seminal plasma and sperms. Seminal plasma and sperms. Together, we call it as the semen. Okay. Now coming to the last part. What is the last part? The fourth part is external. What is the fourth part? It is the external genitalia. Okay, we all know that the external genitalia includes the penis. Now, the penis is going to be made up of special tissue. It's made up of special tissue. And the tip of the penis is going to be enlarged. The tip of the penis is enlarged. And what is it called as? It is named as glans penis. So penis, the copulatory organ, is a part of the external genitalia. We observe that it's going to be made up of special tissue. Then the tip of the penis is going to be enlarged. The enlarged portion of the penis is referred as glans penis. Now this glans penis is going to be covered. It's going to be covered by a loose skin. It's going to be covered by a loose skin. What is it called as? It is named as the foreskin. It is named as the foreskin. So here we observe that external genitalia includes the male copulatory organ, namely the penis. What is the penis made up of? Special tissue, and the enlarged part of the penis is called as the glans penis, which is going to be covered by a loose tissue, and that loose tissue is what you call it as the foreskin. As I mentioned, it's a copulatory organ. So naturally, at the time of insemination, you find the penis is going to be erect, helping in transfer of the sperms into the female genital tract. Okay, so whenever the penis is going to be erect, what is going to happen? We observe the semen is going to be released. The semen is going to be released into the female genital tract, which that is the process is called as the insemination. So that's about the fourth part of the male reproductive system. Well, pair of testes, the first part, the second part, accessory ducts, third part, accessory glands, and the fourth part is going to be the external genitalia. So with that, we complete the study of male reproductive system. Now, if you look at the diagram, I think the explanation is, I think you will understand about it. So as I've mentioned, Sertoli cells, Leydig cells are very important. 1 mark question, very commonly asked. Now, if you look at what is the common questions which can appear in the examination from this topic, male reproductive system. I mentioned in the last class itself, 5 mark question. What is it? Only diagram. Okay, only diagram. That diagram can be asked for a 5 mark question. Sometimes, okay, the question may also appear as explain the male reproductive system. Explain human male reproductive system. Now remember, whenever the question is going to begin from explain or describe, explain or describe, what should be your answer be? Please remember, explain or describe. If the question is going to begin, remember it's a diagrammatic question. Okay, if diagram is there. So here, diagram is there. So 3 marks will be for the diagram and 2 marks is going to be for the explanation. Now, most of the time, students will think. What do will think? 5 marks. Okay, 3 marks is going to be for the diagram and 2 marks for explanation is too little because you have to explain all this. Please remember, you have to explain all this. Remember, you cannot cut short your answer. You have to write all the important features of the male reproductive system. Mention the features, okay? Mention the features and give their function. More than enough for the explanation. Next option, what is the other questions which can appear? As I mentioned, 1 mark and 2 mark questions can appear from this. So here one advice is, if you're just going to learn for 5 mark question, okay, you can answer the 1 mark, 2 marks and also the 3 mark question very easily. Okay, so with that we conclude with the first study of the reproductive system, namely the male reproductive system. So continuation, we are just going to go to the next one. Okay, what is the next one? Yes. Okay. So the next one is, we are going to study about the female reproductive system. Now let us learn completely the male and the female reproductive system. Now in case of female reproductive system, what are the parts included? Now all of you all can have a look at the diagram. As I mentioned, important diagrams in this chapter, the 2 main diagrams, it's going to be the male and female reproductive system. So when you look at the diagram, the female reproductive system can be asked for a 5 mark question. It can be asked for a 5 mark question. Okay. Now let us learn what are the parts which are going to be included in the female reproductive system. What is the first part? We can always write it down. What is the first part? It is going to be pair of ovaries. Okay, look at the diagram. As I am telling the names, you can write down. That is, you can look into the diagram and also you can take down in your notes. So the first part, it is going to be the pair of ovaries, followed by pair of oviducts. Fine. Followed by the third part, it is named as uterus, or it is also referred as womb. So the third part of the female reproductive system include uterus or the womb. Followed by the fourth part is named as the cervix. Fifth part is named as the vagina. And the sixth, it also includes mammary glands. Please remember, in case of the female reproductive system, what are the parts included here means, it is going to be a pair of ovaries, followed by a pair of oviducts, followed by uterus or the womb, followed by, what do you have? Cervix. The uterus continues. The neck of the uterus is referred as the cervix. The cervix continues into a duct, that is, which is referred as the vagina, opens to the outside through the vaginal opening, followed by another important part, the mammary gland. Now, last year you all have studied mammals, okay? All of them are referred, the name is given, it is because of the mammary gland. Now, why it is? Because in case of humans, viviparous, giving birth to young ones, and maternal care is there. Fine. Now, when you look at these parts, what do we observe? We observe that these structures are integrated. What do you mean by integrated? They are linked with each other. Okay, so the structures of the female reproductive system are integrated and they are going to be functionally, they are going to support. They're going to provide a support for the following function. What is the following function? The first is going to be ovulation. Okay, these integrated structures of the female reproductive system is going to provide a support for what is it? The first purpose is going to be ovulation. The second purpose is going to be fertilization. It's going to be for the purpose of fertilization, then followed by implantation. That is the development of the young one. Okay, after that, you'll find birth and child care. Okay, so here we observe that in case of female reproductive system, the parts are integrated. The structures are going to be integrated. And what do? They're going to provide a functional support for what? For one, ovulation. Second, fertilization. Third, implantation, development of the embryo, followed by birth and child care. So that's the reason we just don't say describe female reproductive just like that, but we say the structures are going to be integrated and they are going to provide a functional support for all the processes like ovulation, fertilization, implantation, development of the embryo, then birth and child care. There is maternal care. Okay, I hope you all understand. Okay, so these are going to be the parts and they are integrated. And what is the functions they're going to provide? Ovulation, fertilization, implantation, and birth and child care. Now let us look at the diagram. Since I have mentioned the parts, I shall describe this one. Now if you look at the diagram, what do we observe? We observe there is the presence of a pair of ovaries on either side of the uterus. A pair of ovaries are present on either side of the uterus. Very close to the ovaries, what do we observe? There is the presence of the ducts. So what is it called as? You call it as oviduct. There is one more name for it. We also can name it as fallopian tube. Oviducts are also named as fallopian tubes. Okay, so a pair of oviduct or fallopian tube. The oviduct continues into a sac-like structure. What do you call it as? We call it as the uterus or the womb. The womb or the uterus continues. The end part of the uterus or the neck of the uterus is what you call it as the cervix. The cervix continues into the cervical canal, continues into what is known as the vagina. The vagina opens to the outside through the vaginal opening. Well, these are going to be, what is it? The parts of the female reproductive system. Well, now let us start with the first one. What is it? Pair of ovaries. I hope all of you all have copied down. I'm just going to erase it. I need a little space for the explanation. So what is the first part we will study about? We are going to study about what is known as the pair of ovaries. Okay. Now let us look into what are the features we observe. Pair of ovaries. So where is the ovaries located? Just like the testis. Of course, we know that testis is present outside the abdominal cavity. But here you'll find it is going to be present inside the abdominal region. It's present located in the abdominal region. It is present on either sides of the uterus. So location We observe that a pair of ovaries are going to be located on either side of the uterus. Now, the ovaries are going to be attached. They are going to be attached to the pelvic wall by ligaments. Please remember, they are just not floating in the abdominal cavity. Okay. Instead, they are held in that position. On either side of the uterus, pair of ovaries are going to be present. And there is a ligament which is going to connect the ovaries to the pelvic wall. It is going to connect the ovaries to the pelvic wall so that it is held in that position. Now, when you take a section, okay, when you take a section of the ovary, inside the entire tissue filling the ovary, we call it as the stroma. Okay, now for example, I just draw a simple diagram. Okay, now if this is going to be the ovary, when you take a section inside, okay, the entire inside of the ovary, what is it filled by? It's going to be filled by the stroma. Now this stroma can be divided into two regions. The stroma of the ovary can be divided into the two regions. Outside the thin region, you call it as the cortex. Inside, you call it as the medulla. It is referred as the medulla. So outside the cortex and inside, it is going to be the medulla. Now this entire, that is the ovary, is going to be lined by the epithelium, which is going to take part in the process of oogenesis, and it is going to help in the production of ova or egg. Just like the testis, which is going to be lined by the epithelium, here also we observe that, okay, the ovary. But here there's a slight difference. For now, we will just say the cells lined by the ovary is going to take part in the process of oogenesis, and it is going to help in production of ova or the egg. For now, let us have this much information. So that is about the ovaries, followed by pair of oviducts. Pair of oviducts. What is the other name for oviducts? It is also named as fallopian tube. Okay. So from the ovary, what is the second part? The second part is going to be a pair of oviduct or fallopian tube. Now, the oviduct is going to be divided into three parts. The oviduct is divided into how many parts? Three parts. What is the first part? The first part is named as infundibulum or fundibulum antano in my textbook ali ide. Okay, so what is the first part? It is going to be the infundibulum. What is the second part? The larger part of the oviduct is named as ampulla. What is the third part? Isthmus. The third part is going to be the isthmus. So if you look at the diagram, you can see all the three parts. What is the first part of the oviduct? Referred as infundibulum. What is the second part? The wider part of it, called as the ampulla, followed by isthmus. Now look at the first part, infundibulum. Infundibulum is going to end in finger-like projection. It ends in finger-like projection. Okay, we call it as fimbriae. The finger-like projection at the end of the infundibulum is referred as fimbriae. Now this fimbriae is present very close to the ovary. Please remember, it's not attached to the ovary. It just covers the ovary. Okay, it's present very close and it just covers the ovary. Now this fimbriae is going to help in at the time of ovulation. When the egg is going to be released from the ovary, it is immediately sucked through the fimbriae into the infundibulum, transported through the ampulla, isthmus to the next part, what is known as the uterus. So what is the second part of the female reproductive system? It's going to be pair of oviducts or fallopian tube. The oviduct is divided into how many parts? It's divided into 3 parts. What is the first part? Infundibulum. What is the second part? Ampulla. What is the third part? Isthmus. The first part, infundibulum, ends in a finger-like projection which is called as the fimbriae. Now here, this can be asked as a 1-mark question. What is that 1-mark question which can be asked? What is the function of fimbriae? Or name the part of the oviduct which is going to help in absorbing the egg or ova at the time of ovulation. So which part of it? It is going to be the fimbriae, finger-like structure present at the end of the infundibulum. Common 1-mark question is, what is the function of fimbriae? What is the function of fimbriae? It is going to help in sucking of the egg or ova at the time of ovulation. Infundibulum, adamele. What is the next part? It's a wider part. What is it called as? Ampulla. Third, continuation, isthmus. It's a slightly narrow region, but it is going to be present very close to the uterus. It's going to be present very close to the uterus. So this is going to be the 3 parts of the oviduct or the fallopian tube. Okay. What is the third part of the female reproductive tract? That is female reproductive system. It's going to be the uterus or the womb. Now, when you look at the diagram, what does the shape remind you of? Means we observe that the uterus looks like an inverted pear shape. Now, what is pear means? Please remember, it's a fruit. Okay, pear is nothing but a fruit. So, how does the womb appears or uterus appear in shape? Means it looks like an inverted pear shape. It looks like an inverted pear shape. Now, the uterus is made up of, or you can say it's made up of 3 layers. It's made up of 3 layers. The first layer we call it as perimetrium, followed by outside perimetrium, middle myometrium, and what is the third one? Endometrium. All of you look into the diagram, you can see all the 3 layers. The labelings are there: perimetrium, myometrium and endometrium. What is perimetrium? The outer lining of the outer layer of the uterus. What is the second one? Myometrium. Myo means it gives the meaning muscle. It gives the meaning muscle. So myometrium is made up of muscle tissue. Endometrium, the inside layer. Now, most of the time, as I'm explaining, it's very easy. Perimetrium, myometrium, endometrium. Okay. In the examination, okay, since most of the time we know that I know all the information. So while writing and while labeling, please remember, I have observed, okay, many of the students committing this, okay, simple mistake. What is a simple mistake? They will write, this should be outside, is it not? So this becomes inside, okay. So inside perimetrium, middle myometrium, outside endometrium. The labeling is interchanged. Always remember, name itself gives you where the layer is existing. Now let us look at this first word, peri. What does peri means? Outside. So uterus is going to be covered by an outer layer. What is the name of the outer layer? Perimetrium. The middle myometrium. Myo means muscle. So the uterus has got a thick layer of muscle tissue. So that layer is referred as myometrium. The third layer, endometrium. While labeling, keep in mind, endo means inside. So naturally, where should the labeling go? It should be to the inside of the uterus. So while labeling, please give a little care. Okay. How do you label the layers of the uterus? Perimetrium, myometrium, and endometrium. Well, now these two are important. Yaudu, myometrium and endometrium. Why it is important? Very common. New question paper nodidre, you will observe that these are commonly asked as a 1 mark question. They are going to be commonly asked as a 1 mark question. What is it? Common question. What is the function of myometrium? Next, what is the function of endometrium? What is the function of myometrium? As I've already mentioned, what is it made up of? Muscle tissue. So what should be useful in? It is going to help at the time of delivery. It's going to help at the time of delivery for contraction and relaxation of the uterus. So what is the function of myometrium? It is going to help. Help when? During delivery. Delivery for what? For contraction and relaxation. Contraction and relaxation of uterus. This should be your answer. Okay. One more point I would like to mention here. All of you all keep this in mind. Okay. Do not go in for, when you're writing the answer, do not look at the marks. Forget about the marks. What is the question asked? Okay. So here the question is, what is the function of myometrium? Okay. Most of the time, students write, okay, it helps at the time of parturition. Fine. That's also a correct answer. It helps at the time of parturition. But the next following question, how? What happens? We know that delivery of the baby, but how? So that's the reason your complete answer is going to be, it is going to help during delivery for contraction and relaxation of the uterus. We all know that parturition, delivery of the baby. If the delivery of the baby has to occur, means the uterus has to undergo contraction and relaxation, for which the myometrium is going to be useful. So that's going to be a 1 mark. Now you may say, Miss, 1 mark question, should we write such a lengthy answer? Please remember, don't look into the 1 mark. Okay, write down the complete answer. That's always my advice. Try, especially in biology, when you're writing the answer, let the answer give a meaning for the question. Okay, now what is the question I have asked? What is the function of myometrium? So your expected is, it's going to help during delivery of the baby. Okay, now if this answer, rural students, if they're going to write it, fine, because there's a lot of other criteria over there. But you all are from urban city, that is urban students, means please write it. And this practice of writing complete and correct answer will definitely help you. Okay, so helps during delivery for contraction and relaxation of the uterus. Which one? Myometrium. What is myometrium? It is the middle layer of the uterus. Okay, what is the third one? Endometrium. What is endometrium? It is going to be the inner layer of the uterus. What is endometrium means? It is going to be the inner layer. Question is, what is the function of endometrium? If you're just going to say it is the inner layer of the endometrium, means you will get 0. I hope you all are going to understand. When I say function means, please write the correct function. Here also I'm asking the function of endometrium. So here, you are not just going to write down the position of the endometrium. What is the position of endometrium? It is the inner layer. But what is the function? It is going to take part. It's going to take part during the cyclic changes. During the cyclic changes of menstrual cycle. So during menstrual cycle, there's going to be a cyclic changes which is going to occur. Now for that, which layer is going to take part? Endometrium. Now there is another kind of a question which can be asked. Mention the layer which is going to take part, take part in menstrual cycle. Means it is going to be which one? Endometrium. Second, mention the layer which is going to be helping in parturition. Look at this. The same function, questions can be two different forms. It can be two different types. So when I'm going to ask, mention the layer which is going to take part in the process of parturition, it is myometrium. So these two layers, three layers of the uterus, one is outside is perimetrium, second one is myometrium, the third one is going to be endometrium. So what is the second part? That is the third part of the female reproductive system. It's going to be the uterus. Okay, I shall stop here and I shall continue with the study of female reproductive system in the next class also. That is coming next week. Thank you.